Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today we're going to discuss an interesting topic. All those luxury brands out there, from Hermes to Louis Vuitton to Dior to Chanel and so on and so forth, trying to fight the counterfeit market, and yet a whisper from afar seems to keep growing into rumors and maybe even more that say that it's these brands themselves who are also producing fakes. What? Oh, let's get into the juiciness of it all. But first, subscribe to my channel here on the tubes. Push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today to gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob, all spelled together there as well for extra perks. Thank you to my members and patrons who have already pledged. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream every Saturday. You are all welcome to join the live chat. Speaking of, cue in the live chats, ya guys. Hi everybody, I hope everybody's doing well. Yes, Jesus, allegedly, everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only. Just my opinion, not rooted in facts or truths. It's just my opinion, so everything's alleged. Allegedly, as we say. Do tell, says D. Listen. So it has come to my attention, darling, and while I'm dressed in this gothic attire with my pom-pom moment, the drama, it has come to my attention that somebody, Sanjita Singh Kurtz, has written an article in the New Yorker about the rich New York women who love their fake Birkins. Now listen, this is a very interesting topic and we have to cover several aspects of it. So bear with me as we go on a journey. Speaking of the journey, I've just released the Journey merch. Go check it out on www.superdacob.com just in time for macabre Halloween. Why, you say? Go check it out. You'll see what I mean. The Journey merch out now on www.superdacob.com. Now listen. So these ladies apparently, and this article has been out for a while and then there's been updates and redactions to the article, but let me move to the side a little bit more. So this article tells about the fact that there's the elite group of New York ladies who adore their fake Birkins. And you would say, well, yeah, I guess maybe somebody just wants to save money. And if somebody's really rich, they're going to want to spend money on other things. They're not going to want to spend money on Birkins and Kellys, authentic ones, because, they cost a lot. I mean, 15, 20, 30,000. I mean, if you want a Himalayan Birkin, I mean, crocodile, alligator, whatever, you're going to spend 100K, 200,000. If you want some embellishments with diamonds on it, it can go into the millions of dollars. A lot of wealthy people don't really want to spend money on crazy stuff like that. And instead, they just say, you know what? Let's just buy a fake one instead. And here the article begins, and it starts explaining how this upper society, the upper echelon of New York society, starts to develop a sort of subculture of the counterfeit elite, if you may. In the beginning, it's always, one lady who starts talking to her friend and says, I actually check out this new Birkin. Isn't it amazing? And the friend says, oh my God, so amazing. How long did you have to wait for it? And then she would say, oh, I didn't have to wait at all. This was not something that I had to beg my sales associate for. No, I have a connection. And then she would mention the connection, allegedly, the connection, which would be the third man that would be connected to the factory in China that would deliver the counterfeit goods, and then would be that intermediate link that would then sell the bags in New York, Now, the news spreads like wildfire. more and more ladies, some of them are snobbying that idea, but more and more kind of jump on that train. And before you know it, this tendency of just sneakily buying a fake Birkin, Kelly, or what Chanel bag and not tell it to your friends becomes the opposite of keeping it a secret. It becomes prestige. And all of a sudden, and just like that, in a New York minute, most of the ladies on the Upper East Side start having Tupperware parties. But instead of Tupperware, they're buying fake Birkins, Kellys, and Chanels, and even other brands. And all of a sudden, a whole subculture develops of hunting down the counterfeit and the fake that comes closest to the real deal. All of a sudden, they get tickled by the notion of hunting down the piece that passes as real. Similar to the balls, the gay balls in New York of the 80s, where, mostly gay men would try to pass, you had different categories, but you could pass as real, passing as a woman or not. Well, similar happens to these balls / Tupperware parties for Birkin, for fake bag purchases, where all these kind of rich ladies meet up and they exchange their ideas, and then all the bags are presented to them, and then they kind of look at the stitches, they look at the craftsmanship, and they try to find the bag that is closest to the real, if not even better in some cases. And this is where superdacob jumps in and notices that in the article, once the author starts using such adjectives and words to describe fakes as in some cases better than the real deal, well, one couldn't help but wonder, if it's better than the real deal, maybe it's not fake after all. Now, the article does touch base on that as well. Towards the end of the article, the author does say there has been rumors, speculation, people in this upper echelon of the counterfeit markets purchases have been speculating that, well, since most of these luxury brands allegedly produce most of their goods in China anyway, even though a lot of them don't want to admit that they produce, at least in part, some of their leather goods or parts of the leather goods in China, maybe, just maybe, they produce the actual extra bags as well, which then they land on the counterfeit market to be able to make a profit. Because think about it. We know since some time now, that the actual quality of many of these upper end luxury brands is decaying. I'm the best example with the last 2 Chanel bags I purchased. The 22 bags started peeling after 20 minutes of wear. My small clutch on chain in red caviar leather also started peeling and cracking after 3 days of wear. Both purchased in a Chanel boutique, 1,000,000,000% authentic. Thankfully, I managed to return the 22 bag in time before the return date had expired, and I managed to get a full refund, also thanks to my sales associate. I'm not so lucky with the small red clutch on chain. You can check out videos. I made videos on both of these bags on my channel, and you can get all the details about the drama that is going on behind those bags, but the quality is terrible. A lot of the quality of the counterfeits is not as terrible or not terrible at all. And in some cases, a lot of these ladies who wish to remain anonymous in interviews claim that they are better than the real deal, and all of them can afford the real bags as well. They just don't want to. They think it's ludicrous to pay those prices for something that isn't even that special anymore. What has become more special is the hunt for the perfect counterfeit product. Are they scared of ending in jail? Well, the article also touches base on that and talks about a lawyer that has been asked whether or not this is a dangerous endeavor for the upper classes if they tackle purchasing over and over and over again counterfeit goods. The lawyer did say, well, it's a minor offense, all things considered. He doesn't know of anybody, allegedly, in that echelon that has actually ended up in jail for this. But he also says, well, technically, the end consumer of the counterfeit good always has a good claim to make, and that is that they thought they were purchasing an authentic bag. Now, if you purchased a counterfeit bag in good faith, believing that it was authentic, well, then you are usually protected. Now, I'm no lawyer, so I can just allege these things, but you're usually protected from the law in terms of ending up in the slammer, because you can always say, well, I thought I was buying a secondhand authentic bag. So even a lawyer was brought in to talk about this. But more and more people started speculating that since the fakes are becoming so good, and since more and more people are not buying into the authentic market anymore, questions started arousing. Well, how will these luxury brands end up still making money long term? Sure, they can sell their perfumes, beauty products, creams, skincare, makeup. Also, that can be counterfeit, but it's a little bit more tricky with certain chemicals to counterfeit beauty products and perfumes, also because the smell is then quite different. I have yet to encounter anybody who manages to counterfeit a perfume one-to-one. It's just almost impossible. Not impossible, but almost impossible. But however, we digress and go back to bags. The fact that more and more people are buying counterfeit goods, and the fact that counterfeit goods are becoming more and more good in terms of how they look, how they feel, how they smell, how they last. The fact that we know all this should lead us to a very, very simple conclusion. And that is that the brands, the authentic brands, the actual luxury brands, they must be sitting and pooping themselves right now out of fear of all those billions that they will lose because people are going to buy the counterfeits, not the authentics anymore. Because authentics, if you think about it, these brands mostly sell their heritage pieces the most. What does this mean? This means that Hermès would not be able to be such a powerful brand if it didn't have the Birkin and the Kelly and the Constance, but it's the Birkin and the Kelly. Chanel would not be such a power horse if it didn't have its timeless classic, double flap. Those bags, all things considered, have been around for decades and decades and decades. And they're relatively simple bags if you look at how far technology has advanced today. If you look at how complicated we can make bags today, we could create really complex bags in complex shapes out of complex materials, and yet the most coveted of these bags are made by these brands which have been making these bags for decades and decades and decades, relatively simple bags to construct once you know how to make them. The counterfeit market progresses more and more with its technology, with its savoir-faire, as well as, allegedly, also employing ex-artisans or ex-people who have worked for these brands, who then have left the brands and have allegedly started working for a lot more salary for the counterfeit market. So all things considered, these heritage bags that everybody's dreaming of are not the most complicated bags to make. And with the advancement of technology nowadays, the counterfeit market is really good at nailing down to the last detail, in many cases, allegedly, the quality of these counterfeit goods. So obviously, now I'm of the idea that these brands are scared of losing money. So what's the next logical, consequent train of thought? Well, the consequential logical thought for me as a brand would be, hold on, let me be a couple of steps ahead of the curb and let me jump into the counterfeit world. What does this mean? Well, technically, what it means is a brand could, if a brand is already working on the Asian market and is, as alleged, producing certain pieces or certain parts of hardwares or of their pieces in Asia, they already have contacts to factories that produce goods for them. We also know, as a matter of fact, that, for example, the the outfits, the uniforms that the workers wear at Chanel are made in China. I've seen the tags. I've seen them take off their cardigans in front of me and show me the tag that says made in China. We also see their Chanel Beauty freebies and products, when they give you a little pouch as a gift, made in China. So Chanel does manufacture products in China and clothes, as we've seen with their uniforms. So who's to say they're not already manufacturing their leather goods as well in China? Not just Chanel, other luxury brands as well. And while you're at it, think further. Think further and imagine a world, a capitalist world, as is our world, where profit is the end-all and be-all of everything. So it would be just a logical, consequential thought of these brands to say, well, let's jump onto the counterfeit market to occupy a portion of that market as well so that we lose less money. It's not a stupid idea. It's actually a genius idea, if you ask me. It's a genius idea for a brand to decide to, on the side, keep making the bags. Maybe in a lower quality, maybe a little bit quicker, just slightly less quality control. In some cases, as I said, a lot of these ladies are allegedly reporting that their counterfeit bags are better than the originals that they also own. So for a brand to cut themselves a portion of the pie by joining the counterfeit market is brilliantly diabolical from a capitalist perspective, because it allows and enables them to keep dominating the market. Actually, if you think even further, there might be just a reason why certain bags and classic shapes and forms are still the most marketed by these brands. Maybe, just maybe, because they are the easiest to make. So the brands want to save even more money by making them because they are easy to make. Making fakes, making their own fakes of these easy to make bags saves them even more money. While we are believing that we need to go on a journey to purchase a Birkin bag or a Kelly, and we think we have to give Hermes thousands and thousands of dollars in purchasing blankets, porcelana, what have you, in order to be offered the opportunity to purchase a $10, $15, $20, $30, $50, $100,000 bag, maybe, just maybe, they're playing us a fool, even double. Because all we needed to do was go on the counterfeit market that might just also be, allegedly, this is just speculation, under the hands of these brands. Because the Birkin is not that difficult to make after all, they might just be selling you the counterfeit. As authentic as it gets, you guys, but a fake. So what is fake at this point? We have to think about this. Brands in the past few years have started imitating the fakes. Brands have started imitating each other. We've seen the collaboration, the hack collaboration between Balenciaga and Gucci. Gucci copying Balenciaga, Balenciaga copying Gucci, and in the process we receive a hybrid which is authentic even though it's a counterfeit. It's just legal. So hence, in legal terms, not a counterfeit, but in purely aesthetical terms, it is a counterfeit. If you buy the hourglass Balenciaga bag, but it's covered with Gucci logos, well, that is Gucci making a counterfeit, design-wise, a counterfeit Balenciaga bag. Legally, it's not counterfeit because they made an agreement that they're both going to earn money. They allowed each other to use each other's logos and shapes. So legally, the hack project was not a counterfeit, legally speaking, project, but design-wise, it was a counterfeit project. Because Gucci was counterfeiting Balenciaga and vice versa. Similar happened with Fendace, where Fendi and Versace joined forces and started copying each other for a collaboration. Now, so in a way, these brands are already indoctrinating us into the idea that it is okay to buy a Fendi bag that is made by Versace and vice versa? Are they just maybe telling us that it's okay to also buy the counterfeit Fendace bag or Versace or Balenciaga bag because they make them after all? They're the ones who own the factories after all, allegedly. There's a possibility. And if it were the case that this were true, I would say they're geniusly diabolical in the best of ways. But if this were also true, where does it leave us, the consumers? Are we still going to throw shade at each other? You know, if we think somebody bought a counterfeit, a fake, or this or that, is it still worthy to hash it all out on social media? To say, oh my God, I know that influencer, they only buy fakes. Well, is it going to have any meaning other than just the fact that, yeah, it's maybe the cheaper version of that brand that also produces the counterfeit good? Or is it actually really a legally illegitimate counterfeit good? It's really hard to know. We'll never really know. Somebody subscribe? Thank you for subscribing. We're never really going to know, except what we do know for a fact is that the more time passes and the more good these super fakes or replicas become, and the more we hear about the upper class society, this upper echelon of society, and I'm talking about in particular this news article, the rich New York women who love their fake Birkins. You know, it's not just about the rich ladies in New York or gentlemen in New York, it's about all over the world. If more and more social levels buy into the fake market, well, it would be ludicrous of these brands not to jump on this and profit from it. Now, you can think about it this way. Well, but this is so bad. You know, they have their lawyers. They're going to jump on it. Well, this, if you think about it, guys, for every counterfeiter caught, another 10 pop up like mushrooms. And also the jurisdiction that these European luxury brands or American luxury brands have, the jurisdiction doesn't expand all the way to China. They don't have any rights in China. They can try to go through Chinese court system to block certain factories and manufacturers and resellers, but that costs them millions and millions. And they got to do it on a daily basis because these factories keep opening up and production keeps going and going and going. You can never really shut it down at the source, because if they were capable of shutting it down at the source, they would have done it decades ago. But it hasn't happened, and it's just getting more and more. So the really clever thing would be to actually buy secretly a few of these factories out there and keep producing because more and more people are buying the fakes and more fakes are being produced. And they're spending more and more millions in legal fees. Think about it. The luxury brands, in order to fight the counterfeit world, have to spend millions and billions in legal fees over and over and over again, because it's a losing battle to try to fight the counterfeit market. It's a losing battle. The counterfeit market is so fast, you guys. Even my merch got counterfeit several times. And I'm not Chanel. I'm very well aware of that. But what I'm telling you is even somebody, a small content creator like me who makes his own merch, I found it on illegitimate websites. They just stole my picture and then they print my picture on t-shirts. And I try to shut them down. And then a new one pops up the second I shut one down. Now imagine how it is for famous brands. The millions and billions they have to invest in trying to shut down the counterfeit market. It makes no sense because, one, it's too much money to spend. In fact, it's also too much money to spend investing on copyright of certain shapes of designs. The brands have their trademarked logos, but they don't have that amount of money to trademark every single shape. This is why you can find dupes of a Birkin or a Kelly. The shape, the trapezoid shape of the bag is not copywritten. The logo is. So there's that to be said. Of course, there's more conversation to be had there within, Europe and copyright laws, and also in America, whether or not your dupe bag looks too similar to a Birkin or a Kelly. That's debatable, and then you would go to court with that. But that is a lot of money for these brands to have to run after on a daily basis. Second problem is that, well, think about it. All the billions that they've spent on legal fees in all the decades that these brands have been fighting the counterfeit market, how do you think they get that money back? It's easy to say, well, they're probably insured. Well, insurance doesn't cover all of these instances, and especially the premiums that you're going to have to go through with every time you go through a legal battle like this. It's also not worth the price tag, but they still keep paying. Well, except here's the twist, boo-boo. They're not paying. You are. With every legal fee that they have, with every million that they spend to fight the counterfeit market, and they say they're fighting the counterfeit market also to protect you, the consumer, from less quality goods. Well, it's all a joke and it's all a sham, because you end up paying for those legal fees. All those price increases that are happening are not happening just because they want to maintain the covetability of their products on the market. The price increases are not just happening because the brands want to lower production numbers. They don't want to flood the market with product, hence diminishing the value of their product. Oh no. The price increases are also happening because of all the legal fees that they have, because of all the theft that has been happening since the pandemic began. And yes, again, they're insured, but the premiums keep going up. And who is the person who ends up paying for all of that? You. You who have been thinking, I want to keep buying only authentic goods. I want to support the brand. Well, a big portion, allegedly, of that price tag that you're paying for your $10,000 Chanel double flap maxi, a big portion of that money is not going towards the quality of the bag, which chances are currently how their quality is going is probably going to peel. But big portion of that money goes into their pockets to help them fund their legal battles against counterfeit goods, which you are told you should not buy. So if you're told not to buy a much cheaper version of the same bag, and you're told to buy the authentic, well, what's the advantage of it? What do you get out of it? You get nothing out of it. They actually charge you double because of their legal fees, allegedly. So you're double screwed. At the moment, maybe even triple screwed. You're screwed because their quality at the moment is not good. Speaking only out of my personal experience. Quality not good, but you're spending... They're like 20th price increase happened in 2 years. You're spending money on their legal fees, allegedly, and they're trying to block the counterfeit market, telling you, don't get yourself a cheaper bag and maybe even better quality. Buy directly from us. Spend more. They're also, Hermes, I'm looking at you, playing you for a fool because they're like, you know what? No, Birkin, Kelly, no. You're going to have to buy 10 blankets, the porcelain plates. You're going to have to invest even more money into the brand before you get offered a Birkin and a Kelly, when the Birkin and a Kelly were available already as counterfeit goods. Yes, legally counterfeit. But we don't know. As this article alleges, now don't shoot the messenger here, I'm just reading from this article. At a certain point in the article states that people are speculating that the bags might be made directly by the brands themselves, that the replicas might be made by the brands themselves. One of the people interviewed in the article says this lady echoed a number of women that she spoke with who think authentic customers are the ones getting played. These days, the reps, allegedly, just tend to be better made. A Hamptons-based chief strategy officer told the lady. They last longer, there's more attention to detail, you can tell that things have been done by hand. Meanwhile, luxury brands have recently implemented thousands of dollars worth of price hikes. So it's the customer who's being played. Another aspect of this kind of upper class ladies of New York who are really into these replica bags is getting a good rep or replica requires a certain amount of savvy. And while the internet is one way to do that, the New Yorkers get into analyzing them. They spend a lot of time analyzing how well copied the bag is and how much it passes as real. And that in its own self has become almost like money in itself. All of these ladies, like, oh, there's that lady, she's the one who's specialized in it. And then she is the best one in the group. And then all of them look up to her. And which bag would you recommend us to buy today? And there's that whole dynamic forming, replica bag to buy today. There's that whole dynamic forming. And these are rich people, by the way. This is not somebody who cannot afford the authentic one and then everybody else judges them because they bought a replica. No. These are people who are way beyond that. These are people who are way beyond that. One of them even says to her friend who was snobbing the replica market and said, oh, I hope, she says, my friend, she spends her whole day stressing whether or not Hermès is going to offer her the Birkin in the colorway she wants, in the material she wants. And here I am telling her, hey, it's one phone call away, boo-boo. They can make you one in the color you want, in the shape you want, even in a fantasy variation you want. And done. Don't waste your time stressing about whether or not Hermès is going to offer you a freaking bag. You have other things to enjoy in life. And she's right. She is right. She's on to something, at least. She's on to something. I believe she's on to something. And what is also interesting, is that the author of the article at a certain point tries herself to see how it works with the replica market. And at the end of the article, she says that she purchased a fake Gucci. She says that to test out whether or not replicas are really as good as the authentics, she says, for around $200, I procured a Gucci Jackie Mini, which retails for $2,500. She says that it came with the apple green Gucci box, complete with tags, a dust bag, and a Gucci branded desiccant pack. There's always talk of desiccants when we talk about Super D and the fashion bunker, and here you go. Gucci has its own desiccants as well. She then took this bag with the box and the desiccants and all the paperwork to an authenticator in a popular Upper East Side consignment store. And then she described the nice boutique-y kind that keeps carefully authenticated Louis Vuittons in locked glass cases. After peering at the fake for several minutes, the woman behind the counter sighed and told her, for a bag that she spent $200 on, as she says, allegedly, that is allegedly worth $2,500 in authentic form at Gucci, this consignment store person said to her allegedly, I can do $975 or give you $1,100 in store credit. What do you think? So this also sheds a light on all those secondhand stores that sell luxury goods. You cannot know anymore unless you're really, I can't even tell you if the actual makers of these bags can even, if even they can tell you for certain and for sure if their bags are authentic anymore. But there are so many super fakes out there that are so good, forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about it. So, might as well, right? You might think. Now, I'm not condoning any illegalities, ever. But what if we're being played by these brands and they're the ones making the counterfeits? And trying to play us to push us to buy the authentics so that we, the suckers, spend 10 times more for the same product. Think about the matrix of the situation. A brand offering you the same bag. They offer you the bag for $200 and they offer you the bag for $2,500. And they offer both because they want to play a psychological game with you, because they want you to spend more money. So they're going to offer you the illegal version of it to put pressure on you, maybe even FOMO. And then you end up buying the more expensive one when they were in reality both the same, allegedly. It's shocking. But you cannot trust the authenticators anymore. I mean, at least I can't. You know. Somebody said in the article, what is even considered authentic? Authentic could cost you thousands. Used could cost you half. And now you're telling me a replica could be 10% of the real thing and you can't even tell that it's a replica? So what's authentic? Legally, we know what's authentic. But design-wise, we don't know. Isn't that interesting? And the article also talks about the status symbol of the rich. You know, how does a rich person show status and show off? You know, and they're claiming allegedly, right, in the article that to the rich, status isn't having the means to join the $10,000 handbag clique. Anyone could be so basic. Here we go. The word basic is being thrown. It's waltzing into brunch with a fake. That takes chutzpah. It's getting away with it. That feeling of, you know, the chutzpah that they're talking about. That's exactly it, you guys. And it's an eye-opener. It's an eye-opener, to say the least. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I've seen the chats were like rolling like crazy during the video. So I will read them all later on as I rewatch the video myself in post-production. But think about it. Thoroughly think about it. You know, let's not just drop in quick morals here. Let's try to analyze all the variables before we drop to a conclusion. You know what I mean? And never give up on love. And subscribe.